Welcome to lesson 77. If you're watching this, that means that the first one worked, and now we're moving on to lesson 77, percents greater than 100, and hopefully this one will be as easy as the last one. All right, well, I started off with some, once again, please follow along with your worksheet. And I started off with some kind of like, let's get our mind thinking of percentages and what these actually mean. So I think you can figure out what's 100% of 20. Ooh, that one's tough. 100% of 20 is 20. If we want to find that out mathematically, which will help us hopefully later on, what is 100% in decimal form? Well, whenever we take a percent and then switch it to a decimal, we move, well, there's no decimal place here, but we move the decimal place in 2. So 100% equals 1.00. So to find it mathematically, we go 1.00 of, which always means multiply, of 20 equals 20. Cool. 50% of 20. Well, we know 50% equals a half, and 50% of 20 is going to equal 10. And to do that mathematically, 50% equals what in decimal form? It equals 0.50 of times 20. 0.5 times 20 is going to give you your 10. 200% of 20. Well, now we're talking greater than 100%. And so we know that whatever number, since it's 200% of 20, we know it's going to be greater than 20. If we get a number less than 20, we know we've done it wrong. 200% of 20 equals 40. It's basically 20 times 2. And to do it mathematically, we would change the 200% into a decimal, which would be 2.00. Turn the of into a multiply times 20. So 2 times 20 equals 40. All right, 150% of 20. Can you do that on your own? You take 100% of 20, which is 20, add a 50%, which is 10, and it's going to be 30. Do it mathematically. 150% in decimal form is 1.50 times 20. 1.5 times 20 equals 30. All right, so far so good, I hope. So then I just say on here, change these into decimal form because it's going to help us. 39% in a decimal form is 0.39. These are kind of the things that we've been doing on those charts, but now they have these numbers greater than 100%. All right, so 150% in decimal form is going to be 1.50, and 210% is 2.10, and 407% is 4.07. Hopefully you're catching that. All right, so then they get into the problems. So the first practice problem is 300% of 45 is what number? Okay, we know how to change this into an algebraic equation, right? 300%, so I'll write that down. 300% of equals multiply of 45, write down our 5, is always equals is what number? We'll just put n. 300% times 45 equals n. So you don't want to multiply by percentages. You need to change them into your decimals, which is why we did all the fun stuff over here. So 300%, and I wish I had more room down here, but I'm just going to go across now. So 300%, we know to change into a decimal is going to be 3.00 times 45. And believe it or not, I used my calculator. And so it's basically 3 times 45, and it equals 135. So 300% of 45 equals 135. And there is the answer there. 140% of what number is 364? Okay, 140%. Can we just change it into a decimal now? Thanks. 140% changed into a decimal number is going to be 1.4. And I'll put the 0 on there so you can see where it comes from. You don't need to have it there. Of multiply. What number is going to be my variable? We'll say n is equals 364. 1.4 times n equals 364. Okay, so I need n by itself. I'm going to divide both sides by 1.4. 1.4 over here. This is going to equal 1. I'm going to have n equals 364 divided by 1.4. And the answer from the calculator is 260. Let me see if that makes sense. 140% of 260 equals 364. Okay, well, it's going to be over, it needs to be a number over 260 because this is 140% of it. Yeah, that seems reasonable to me. All right, let's do C. All right, so let's look at this one. The local art supply store sold 20 boxes of crayons last year. This year they sold 80 boxes. This year's sales are what percent of last year's sales? So you could look at this and go, I have no idea. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. Well, here's the clue on this one. This is the important sentence. The first two sentences are giving you information that you're going to need to use, but this sentence is the one that's going to tell you how to do it. So, this year's sales. So, let's just, we'll make it an algebraic thing. This year's sales. What are this year's sales? Let's put a circle around here. This year's sales, that goes here. Let's see, this year they sold 80 boxes. Guess what? This year's sales is 80 boxes. 80. Okay, now we have an R. Well, this is the same as an is. Is and are the same kind of thing, okay? So, an is, we know, is an equals, so R is an equals. So we'll put R, 80, this year's sales, R, that's equals, what percent? Well, what percent? We know what to do with that one. That one we're going to put a question mark, or N. We'll put N again. N are what percent of, ooh, we love of, because we know he is multiplying. And last year's sales is the local art supply store sold 20 boxes of crayons last year. Those are last year's sales. So we'll put that. Last year's sales goes, oops, I put this in the wrong spot. Last year's sales goes here, and that is a 20. Okay, if you can read this disaster, it says 80 equals n times 20. So we need to find n, and then we're going to be good. So to find n, we'll divide both sides by 20. 80 over 20. 80 over 20 equals 4 equals n. This is a 1, so we don't have to worry about him. N equals 4. Okay, did we answer the question? This year's sales are what percent of last year's sales? Can we say 4? No. We have to change this into a percent. Right now, it's really a decimal, 4.00. So, it is 4.00 equals what percent? 400%. So you just have to take that last step. But besides that, it should be pretty self-explanatory. All right? Enjoy. See you next lesson.